Right now, let's talk more about the state of the New York Jets, and let's say hello to a good friend of the show. He covers the team for the New York Daily News. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Antwan Staley. Mr. Staley, how we doing?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Geno Smith is back. You ready to cover Geno?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I guess what's old is new again. So,
Man, it's kind of crazy just to think that here we are with Geno being the quarterback. Break down the move. Give us your initial reaction when it became real. Oh, wow, the Jets are bringing back Geno.
I mean, you start to see some of the dominoes kind of fall in place, like as you know, the negotiation period kind of started to ramp up. Obviously, Tua going to the Falcons too as well. The Jets talking basically said even before it got started that Kirk Cousins wasn't going to be an option. So you just kind of, you're looking at the numbers and Geno just made sense too as well. They were looking for a veteran quarterback. Obviously, he has come off a bad year, but Darren Mougey and Aaron Glenn are hoping that he can kind of regain some of that form that he had in Seattle, where he had like average 25 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, as opposed to when he was with the Raiders. And obviously, he went through a lot of struggles. Some of his own fault. He, threw some bad passes, but also he was behind the Raiders' offensive line and gave up 55 sacks last year, which was the league high. So they're banking on him having a better offensive line, surrounding him with better parts, and Geno having a better year and solidifying the quarterback's position, stabilizing at least for a year.
Do you think he's capable of doing that, or are his best days behind him?
I mean, multiple things can be true. Like, yes, his day stays are probably behind him, but the Jets just need him to be a point guard. They don't necessarily need him to, throw for 25 touchdowns. They just need somebody that can take care of the football and be able to push the ball down the field. Obviously, with Justin Fields, I don't need to tell you, that was a quite of an issue last year. And, one thing Geno Smith does not lack is confidence throwing the ball down the field. Yeah, you might have to just live with the results. It's going to be interceptions. It's going to be turnovers at the time, but at least he's putting the ball in play for, some of his receivers, something that Justin Fields was, hesitant to do a lot last year.
I think that's 100% factual what you're saying there. In terms of what it does for Garrett Wilson, are you expecting Garrett Wilson to have arguably the best year of his career now with Geno Smith throwing him the ball?
I hope so. I mean, I thought that was the kind of the thinking last year, but obviously Garrett missing 10 games kind of, threw a wrinkle into that too as well. But I think the Jets also need to surround Garrett with a little bit more talent at the receiver positions there too as well. I mean, whether, you could be in the draft or, obviously, handle that in free agency too as well. But having, him with a supporting cast will take pressure off of him, Mason Taylor, and just the rest of the players on the team, Breece Hall too as well. So yeah, I fully expect Garrett to have a really big year. He just, it's about health and everything like that. But had you asked me that last year, I probably would have told you the exact same thing.
Give me your thoughts on some of the comments that Geno has made since he was traded to the Jets. He was asked if, he was told what his role is by Aaron Glenn, and he declined to say what Glenn told him. I think all signs point to him being told, hey, you're the starting quarterback for the Jets. Am I off base?
No, for this 2026, yes. Like, he is the guy. Like, you're going to be the guy, for 2026. So that's the thinking that a lot of people are that's in that building too. Like, he is there for 2026. Hopefully he can get them into 2027. That's the main thing, because if he doesn't play well enough, then obviously, Aaron Glenn is on the proverbial hot seat. And if Glenn's gone, then he's going to be gone too. So it's a lot at stake for both of these guys.
Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. Antwan Staley from the New York Daily News is our guest here. We're talking all things Jets. We'll get to some of the other moves that the Jets have made. How about the backup quarterback situation now? We keep hearing Carson Wentz is the favorite for that. That would disgust me, full disclosure, as a fan of the Jets. But give me your thoughts on where things stand there.
I mean, yeah, it seems like there's kind of dominoes are starting to point towards that direction too. Obviously, his history with Frank right there, both in Indianapolis and also Philly, get some familiarity with the offense too as well. If that happens to fall through, then Andy Dalton could also be a person that could have some interest too with the Jets too. If the Panthers ended up signing Kenny Pickett to a deal, I think it was yesterday or agreed to on Monday or Tuesday. So all signs point to them probably moving on from Andy Dalton. So that could also be another option too. Obviously, somebody that Frank Reich is also familiar with.
Comments, questions, super chats. They cut the line. We're talking with Antwan. So if you guys have a question, write it in. And again, for those tuning in late, in honor of the great Matt Snell, we will raffle away an autographed Matt Snell photo at the end of today's show. Couple comments that I see in the chat that I want you to weigh in on, Antwan. Weeb checks in. At least Geno's better than Zach or Justin. Still not thrilled with it. But what can you really don't trust it? But what do I trust is the march for Arch. I don't know exactly
I
what the
think I'm
left part
trying
is.
to what he's saying. I think I know what he's trying to say. Like, yeah, it's a better option than those guys, but it's not the best option. But I think it's the best option for the Jets. To be quite honest with you, what
Yeah.
other option were you going to have? Like, again, you're not going out to Kirk Cousins. Kyler Murray seems like he wants to go to Minnesota. Tua's going to Atlanta. So I think this was the best option of the guys. And obviously Geno, and then also for Geno Smith too. This is probably the only opportunity that was going to starting opportunity he was going to be presented with, just because all the other spots were kind of filling up.
Totally agree with you there. And look, if it doesn't work out and Geno doesn't play well, I mean, he just quarterbacked the team that's picking first overall. So the march for Arch or whoever the top quarterback is, it will officially be on if it doesn't go well.
And it's a minimum money. Like you're not taking on a lot of money. So, I don't think it's necessarily a big deal too as well. So you have to factor that in as well.
Paul checks in. Can he put up numbers similar to Rodgers? That wasn't enough 2 years ago.
I mean, maybe. I mean, they're a little bit different quarterbacks, but yeah, possibly. Geno has to cut down on the turnovers, but yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, Rodgers do. I think he had like 12 interceptions that year. So yeah, I think maybe like 25 touchdowns, 12, 13 interceptions probably sounds about right to me.
Bo checks in. Geno is not who we all wanted. However, he may be exactly what we need at the moment. It's a win-win. Play well, we win. Play bad, march for Arch, and that's
Yeah.
essentially it, right? Like they're in all likelihood, their answer at the quarterback spot in 2027 is playing college football in 2026. Now we could
Correct.
talk about Ty Simpson or some of the other potential options this year in the draft. But if I was betting on it, I'd say Geno's here as a bridge for a year, and then they have a new starting quarterback that's a rookie next year.
Yeah, also like if he plays well enough, then he can be your bridge to, and also to whoever you're going to take in 27 too. So it kind of works both ways because, I mean, you might start the guy whoever you draft, but also it's not a bad idea to have a veteran behind him like a Geno Smith who's well experienced.
It's like Josh McCown, who stuck around when Sam Darnold was picked. He was brought back after that season where he actually played pretty well till he got hurt, and he was able to kind of be that mentor for the quarterback that the Jets traded up for, and Sam in that case.
Yeah, you just need somebody that can just stabilize it for a year. Like, just it's all Geno Smith, and like obviously, like again, like with Jets fan, I don't need to tell them like that's been few and far between as far as stabilizing the quarterback position. But that's all they need. They just need him to get them to 27. That's all. That's all they need.
Marine Jet Vet is the first to enter the raffle today. He's in for
They
one.
wrote me off. I ain't right back though.
Now, in the case of the other moves they have made, Antwan, give me your thoughts on the offseason to this point. It's been heavy on defense, besides, of course, the Geno move. Your thoughts on what the Jets have done in free agency?
I mean, I like the moves that they made. Addressing the pass rusher position there, obviously getting some help there. When you talk about Sweat too for the trade with Jermaine Johnson too as well, and just really revamping the defense that underachieved vastly last year, going from a top 5 unit as far as yards allowed in 24 to a plummeted to 25th last year and finishing 31st in yards allowed. So yeah, they had to make some changes there. Obviously, Glenn, revamping the defense, going from going from a free 4-3 to a hybrid kind of 3-4. So yeah, I mean, I think they're not moves that are, gonna, make people like get people excited totally as far as like some of the big names, but also at the same time, like I think they were good quality moves that if it doesn't work out, the Jets can get rid of those guys and just kind of move on too as well. So yeah, I think it's good quality moves. And one thing I do like, Glenn is actually bringing his guys in there with like Demario Davis too as well, somebody that he's familiar with too, especially his ties back to the Saints. So I think that's something that he didn't do last year, which I was kind of surprised, not bringing some guys from Detroit or New Orleans or that, but it seems like he's kind of rewriting that wrong now.
Your thoughts on the Minka deal in particular, how the Jets were able to get him in another, but seemingly smart move by Darren Mougey?
Yeah, I mean, I know, I think it's a good move. Like, the Jets have needed safety help since I've been here, since I've been covering the team. And to be able to get a guy that, can be a Swiss Army knife, can play, up to the coast of the line of scrimmage, can play in the nickel, can also play in the back end too as well. I think it's a good quality move too as well. So, and also, in addition, he's from New Jersey. So, I think Jets fans can get behind that too as well. And yeah, I know Minka Fitzpatrick is, a lot of people think his best days may be behind him. So I know he's going to want to prove a lot as well. One thing about his game last year seemed like the Dolphins was using him more in the nickel, situations as opposed to him just being a flatline safety. So, I think now, like with the Jets, they're going to have him going back to his old roots there, being a safety there, being a ball hawk, and they hope that can translate into interceptions.
Your thoughts just on what this defense could now be? Like they were 31st or 32nd in basically every category They didn't
Yeah.
have a damn interception, which will never be broken again in NFL history. That record of just ineptness. Like, what is the ceiling now for this defense? Of course, they have the second pick in the draft. That very well could be one of the top defensive players in this draft class if they hit on that pick too.
Yeah, I think you're just looking for to be average. Like if you can be an average defense there, above average defense, then I think that'd be a good quality, start for Glenn, especially considering changing the system and everything like that. So yeah, I mean, you can't get much worse than what you were last year, especially not registering the interception, which is just unfathomable. Like I don't think anybody just would have saw that coming too. In addition to finishing with the second fewest sacks in the league last year too, as well to the 49ers. So yeah, I think the numbers will improve there. They can't get much worse. So I think that's if you're a Jet fan, like you can take some pride in that knowing that I don't think the defense can play much worse than what it did, especially down the stretch last year where you lose 5 games by more than 20 points or more.
Some non-Jet news, but there is a Jet tie-in. The Colts and Daniel Jones have agreed to a new 2-year, $100 million contract. It is the biggest 2-year deal in NFL history. It's related to the Jets because the Jets own the Colts pick this year. So if Daniel Jones doesn't play well, if he's not fully recovered from that Achilles and their season goes up in flames, that could certainly benefit the Jets. We saw this happen in the Jamal Adams deal years ago where Garrett Wilson's a Jet right now because Russell Wilson got hurt. And ironically, Geno Smith had to play a lot of games that year, kind of fell apart for Seattle. And the Jets ended up picking at number 10 and drafted Garrett. So we'll see what happens with Indy. But Daniel Jones officially back to the Colts on a new deal.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for him, but they wanted to keep him in the Colts uniform. So we'll see how it goes, especially when you give up your draft picks like that. I mean, you really don't have a whole lot of choices there, especially with the veteran market that it was thin as the way it was.
So it's $88 million guaranteed, seemingly. Just crazy. You know what Daniel Jones has become? He's become the new Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a bad place to be, especially from a money perspective. So, hey, God bless Kirk Cousins. I mean, he has a great agent, so you got to give him that.
He really has become like the new Kirk Cousins, where he does these shorter term deals and just makes the most amount of money possible. Good for him, man. Good for him.
God bless him.
Hit the like button, comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. What's your take on what happened with Maxx Crosby? I actually think there's a Jet tie in here because when that deal was originally made and you looked at the draft order and saw, the Raiders are picking 14, there's a chance the Raiders could take maybe the interior offensive lineman the Jets were coveting at 16. There's a chance the Jets were coveting that they hoped would fall at 16. Now it's the Ravens pick again because the deal fell through. Give me your thoughts on how that went down.
Insane. Like yesterday was an insane sports day just to begin with, but just starting with that in particular, like I don't know if I've seen anything like this, especially in a short amount of time. It just seemed like Crosby was headed there, and then my thing is you knew he was hurt, you knew like what injury it was, and then for you to not to kind of to go through with the deal, it kind of seems shady to me. And I think a lot of people have kind of viewed the same thing too as well. Like, again, like he wasn't going to be 100% healthy. Like you knew it was a meniscus injury. You knew it might be some, risk there at the same time, but you still made the offer to the Raiders for those 2 first-round picks. And it seemed like to me, like they saw Trey Henderson. They didn't want to give up the picks, and then they decided, you know what, let's go in that direction instead of making that price for Maxx Crosby. So that, to me, it just seemed like a really shady move on the Ravens' part. But I understand they might have some reservations, with Maxx Crosby. But again, like everybody knew what the injury was prior to that, and still like they were willing to pay the price, or at least negotiate the price heading into the trade.
Just crazy. Comments, questions, super chats. They cut the line. What's next for the Jets, in your opinion, Antwan? What moves, which players do you think could be on the radar for Darren Mougey?
Well, we definitely talk about quarterback too. So obviously we talked about Wentz, obviously Andy Dalton, depending on what happens there. Offensive line too as well. I think I wouldn't expect a big name on the offensive line, but somebody that some veteran presence too, because they just need men on the line too as well. They need some depth there. Obviously, they definitely need a left guard. That could come via the draft. They could come also free agency too as well. So I imagine they get a veteran that can get it stabilized until they see what happens in the draft.
Comments, questions, your super chats always cut the line. Appreciate everyone tuned in. If you got a question for Antwan, make sure you write it in. Bang says it's not shady. He failed the physical. Smart move. Yeah, but
hold on. First of all, like that is subjective because each team has their own physical, like everything, the protocol and everything like that. So just to say that it's not shady. I don't think we necessarily know that. Like, I think if it was another team, he would probably pass the physical.
It's truly amazing that this happened. You just don't see it happening. Like again,
No,
like it's
this has happened in like less than a handful of times in NFL history. So yeah, they knew what it was. They knew he was injured, and then like they still decided, to make the trade, or at least say they wanted to give up 2 first-round picks for Maxx Crosby. So it just felt like to me it's shady. So you can think whatever you want to, but I'm not the only one that's saying that.
100%. Now, in terms of the expectations for the draft, give me your thoughts on how the Jets' moves to this point in the offseason have impacted, or maybe they haven't impacted in your mind, the approach with the 4 picks in the top 44.
Excuse me. Like, I think you look at the number two, it seems like only, like, for me, it's 2 options. Obviously, Arvell Reese from Ohio State will probably signify the best option too, as well. Somebody that can play off ball, but also like line up at the edge too, as well. You can line him up in a lot of different ways too. Another name, Sonny Styles too, as well. Like, I know a lot of people would not want to take an off ball linebacker at number 2, but the man can play. Like, I don't give a damn. Like, he might be like Luke Kuechly light. And then like I would sign up for that all day. I mean, Luke Kuechly's going to the Hall of Fame. So, the man is a tackle machine, had a great combine. I think those would probably be the 2 options for the Jets too. I mean, maybe, David Bailey too, but I'm kind of feeling less and less about that. In terms of number, it's 16 and 33. I think it depends on how the board also falls too. Now you got the Ravens back there at 14. They might decide to take a wide receiver at 14 in that spot, which also I think would affect the Jets too, especially if you like, a guy like Mekhi Lemon or somebody like that in that ram too as well. So yeah, I mean, the Jets still have a lot of issues to kind of address too as well, and free agency in the draft, but. I think they're in a good place where, especially having those pick at 16 and also 33. I think 33 is like the golden pick to have because you can keep it, you can trade it. Obviously the Jets don't have a 3rd-round pick, so I think I wouldn't be surprised if they would have traded and try to accumulate one down the line.
I'm with you. I do wonder, is 16 too early though to take the Penn State guard? He might be awesome, but the value of taking a guard, I don't love it. I'm not going to sit here and poo-poo it because I'm all about, hey, this team's got to be prepared for a rookie in all likelihood in 27. But I just feel like if they could get one of the receivers at 16 instead, assuming they don't trade for Brian Thomas Jr. or anyone we're not thinking of, I'd much rather them go receiver than guard at 16.
Yeah, I mean, Vega is a good guard. Like, I think he could be, all pro type of guy. But if you're in love with him, then I have no problem with it. I mean, the guy is. That can really solidify the Jets' offensive line. To be able to have 2 young tackles and then you get a young guard, I already think they have one of the best offensive lines in the league. And to be able to solidify that, it's not the worst thing in the world, especially considering like you're going to draft a rookie quarterback. So probably one this year, just kind of a development guy. Like I would think like day 3, but also, next year as well. Like, so you want to make sure they're in the best situation possible. And also a guy like Geno Smith who, got beat up last year. So again, like you want to make sure like the offensive line is airtight. I think it's in a good place now, but it can even be in a better place if you end up taking Vega at 16.
Comments, questions, super chats. They always cut the line. We're talking with Antwan Staley from the New York Daily News. A lot to talk about in terms of the Jets. How about some of the other moves, though, around the league? Of course, we talked about the Crosby trade, but what has stood out to you in free agency? What has caught your attention as someone who follows the whole NFL?
I mean, Jalen Phillips getting 80 million was kind of like I raised it a little bit too. I'm like, he's a good player, but 80 million guaranteed. Yeah, I definitely didn't see that coming too as well. So that kind of surprised me there. You mentioned Daniel Jones too. I'm not terribly surprised by that, but again, like that's a ton of money for a guy like that too as well. And Tua going to Atlanta, it seems like I've not seen one Falcons fan happy about this at all. Like, so that kind of stands out to me too as well. So I'm curious to see how that's gonna unfold too as well. But Malik Willis going to Miami, that's kind of like the worst kept secret there. I'm curious to see like how that affects them as far as like draft and everything like that. Cause a lot of people think they're going to be battling with the Jets for the top pick in the NFL draft next year.
It's going to be crazy because I think it's clear they're not trying to be bad on purpose. Otherwise you wouldn't sign Malik Willis. Now he might just be awful. He's made 6 career starts. They're bad anyway, but I think if you're a Jet fan who's rooting for the tank, you should like the fact Malik Willis went to Miami.
Correct. Because I didn't think that was going to happen. I mean, I did think it was going to happen, but I didn't think it was, I wasn't necessarily sure. But now that they got a stable, like they think they have a bridge type of quarterback there, or somebody that could potentially, be a long-term solution. So yeah, maybe they win enough games where you win 6 or 7 games where they're not in the hunt for, Arch Manning or whoever else you might want to take, next year too. Who's to say that Arch is gonna be the top pick? But I think that's the favorite at the moment. But yeah, I mean, I think the Dolphins still have a lot of, holes too as well. So yeah, I think it's gonna be fascinating to see how these teams play out.
Make sure you guys vote in Asmaniac Madness. We got Ricky NY and Jets Johnny in the matchup right now. The winner will advance to the round of 32. So vote.
Good evening. Thank you.
We got Jets Johnny's rap coming up a bit later on in the show. So be ready for that one. I know you've been following Asmaniac Madness, Antwan. You're all about it.
I mean, I love a good bracket, like in anything. So like I'll follow it anyway, especially this time of the year with March Madness coming up and everything.
I love it. Are you a Tar Heel fan? I forget.
Yeah, I am. I didn't go to UNC, but yeah, I mean, I love UNC. So yeah, I like that. I mean, I like them, and Syracuse. I went to grad school at Syracuse, so I kind of follow them too. Although they're going through a coaching change at the moment.
That's right. You ready for a new coach? I mean, they bring
Yes,
Boeheim back.
yes. Well, no. I would like somebody like 40 years younger, but yes, like it was time. Red, great for him, like Syracuse alumni, legend, but it just wasn't working. Like they need somebody that can, bring some energy back into the program too. Something they hadn't had, since Boeheim was there. So they need somebody that can get them back to the NCAA tournament. It's like they were just floundering in the ACC. So you got to have a young guy that can be able to recruit, especially in this day and age with NIL and everything that's going on.
By the way, quick update on Daniel Jones. He will now surpass $200 million in career earnings after this latest contract.
That was a good call. Like you said, like the new Kirk Cousins. So it seems like that's pretty accurate.
Yep. Zach Rosenblatt just tweeted that. He actually had the same tweet, the same thought I had. Has Daniel Jones officially left Cousins as a businessman? I mean, it's the same thing, man. It really is crazy.
Yeah, good agent. Like he has a hell of an agent. I tell you that.
Man, unbelievable. Let's talk about the quarterback options in the draft. I always enjoy your draft assessments. So if Ty Simpson's there at 16, I'll ask you straight up, are the Jets drafting him?
No, I don't think so at all. I think I would be surprised if they took a quarterback in the top 44 picks that they have. Like really? I think it's more of an option for day 3 of the draft too. Like, I mean, if you're not taking Ty, I guess if Ty Simpson would have fallen to 33, maybe you think about doing it. But I would not take him in the. I personally don't think he's a first round talent. I mean, I think he could be, but it's hard to say. I mean, he has a body of work of like 15 games. First half was great. The second half was not so good. So that's all you can really rely on. And then are you going to take a quarterback that early when you're not necessarily sure on, you're sure on him. So yeah, I would be very wary of that. Other quarterback options, I mean, Garrett Nussmeier, I'm not necessarily fond of for the Jets for a few reasons. One, his accuracy his lack of accuracy, I should say. And also he has small hands. So as you know, especially as it gets cold down there, cold in MetLife Stadium, you're going to need somebody that can hold on to the football. And even then, even not being in cold weather, turnovers were an issue for Garrett Nussmeier. So I would kind of be wary on taking him unless it's maybe like 4th round or something like that. Carson Beck might be an option too as well, but he also comes with his interception concerns too as well. So yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily a quarterback I would take that early, especially for the Jets, considering they're going to have 2 veterans, but I would take one in the round 4. I would take one of those guys. I would take Drew Aller like in round 4 because I think he presents a lot of potential there. I think had he came out in 2024, I think he would have been a 1st or a 2nd round pick. But, obviously the injuries at Penn State kind of, limit him and dropped his stock there. But I actually am a big Drew Aller fan, but even more so on day 3 if he's still available.
You don't think if Ty's there at 33, they're definitely taking him? Because I do.
Definitely. I wouldn't say definitely. I mean, it's a chance, maybe.
I think they like him. I've heard they really like him.
I think they like him too, but I don't know. I guess it also depends on who's on the board too as well. But I think it's a chance they take him. I just wouldn't say it's a given they would.
Make sure you guys like the video and are subscribed to the channel. Antwan Staley from the New York Daily News is our guest. Jet Set Go with a Super Jet. He says, I don't believe Braylon Allen will be the same this season. Any rumblings on picking up someone to hold it down while he returns to form?
I mean, maybe, possibly, but I mean, you also have to take into account, like, he's young. He's still really young in his career. I think he's like 22 now or about to be 22. So I would put my stock in that. I mean, yeah, you could also pick up another veteran like down the line too, as potentially. But I like Breece Hall, I like Braylon too as well. So you still have Isaiah Davis too, also on the roster. So you have to also keep that in mind too. So the Jets have 3 running backs, young running backs they really really like, and this isn't a great draft for the draft of running back. So you also have to keep that in mind as well, unless you're taking Jeremiah Love.
Which I don't think the Jets are going to do.
Nah. I mean, I think he's the best player in the draft, but now that you gave Breece Hall like the franchise tag, you're definitely not doing that.
Where do you think he gets drafted, by the way?
Tennessee. I think he's going to
Wow.
go to the top. I think Saul is going to take him in Tennessee. Like, I think, now they're solidified the defense a little bit there. To be able to get a home run hitter like that, they can take some pressure off of Cam Ward. It makes a lot of sense to me.
I could see him even going 3 for the same reasons. Hey,
Correct.
if you're Mike LaFleur, the offense looks good. You could fix the defense. You'll have some time to do that. You get your quarterback a year from now. But if you have just competent quarterback play from, let's say, Brissett and Minshew and put Love in there, maybe, that's enough to kind of buy you some time as you kind of reset things.
Yeah, he can go from anywhere from 3 to 10, but I don't think he's going to get the 3. I mean, get the 10. So, yeah, I think I'm looking at the Cardinals or also the Titans too as well. If he goes past the Titans, then you're looking at a guy like the Commanders maybe would make some sense too.
I totally agree there. Now, you mentioned Breece Hall. I was going to ask you about that. Your thoughts on him being tagged, and ultimately what happens with Breece? Do they get a longer-term deal done before the July 15th deadline?
I mean, I'm not surprised by it. I mean, it was a lot of talk with the transition tag, but it just really didn't make no sense because you would have he might lose him in free agency. Somebody might give you a better offer, and also with the transition tag, some people may not know if you put the transition tag on Breece Hall. Had they done that, and then somebody else would have gave him a better offer, you don't get a compensatory pick. So at least with the transition tag, you make sure you keep him for a year under control, and then try to get a long-term deal there. I know the Jets and Hall's representatives have been talking. It remains to be seen what that deal may look like, but they have some time to kind of work that out too as well. I think they'll try to get something done before training camp, but it's no given there too as well. So we might be in this exact same position next year where the Jets might be looking for a new running back and quarterback potentially.
How's Breece going to handle this season coming up if he doesn't get a new deal?
I think he should handle it try to have the best season of his career and then try to see what happens in free agency, because I think it'll be a big market for him next year. He's still young enough where I think a team not saying the Chiefs now with Kenneth Walker, but a team that's maybe close that needs a running back could potentially sign him for a lucrative deal too. I think it'll be a really robust market, and I think Breece Hall I think he's a very good running back that has a lot of good qualities to him. He can catch the ball out the backfield. Obviously, he's a really good runner too as well. And I don't think the Jets have always utilized him in the correct way, but I think they're starting to as well. And as long as he stays healthy, I think he's going to get paid everything he's worth.
It's just going to be interesting to me what the Jets are willing to offer him, because I just think at this point you have the money. Find a way to get something done with him so it's not a distraction. Because if they're losing games, Antwan, they're off to another bad start. There's going to be all these rumors about Breece Hall being dealt at the deadline, and I just don't think you want to deal with that if you're Aaron Glenn trying to save your job.
Yeah, you're going to be in the exact same situation you were last year,
right,
where, at the trade deadline, you're going to have people calling, you get off to a 1-6 start. You're going to have people calling hey, is Breece Hall available? Is Breece Hall available? And if if you don't work on a long-term deal, then you have to really consider, potentially moving on from him and getting something worth of value for him. So, yeah, I think we may be in this exact same situation come trade deadline next November.
Make sure you guys follow Antwan's work. Antwan, I always appreciate you coming on. I know people could read you in the New York Daily News, but where could they find you across social media?
Just Antwan Staley, all social media platforms, X, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. So yeah, it's always good and a good time being with you, Jake. I appreciate it.
It's sad that you got snowed out of coming to the combine, because I was looking forward to watching you try and go after the St. Elmo shrimp cocktail, but it wasn't meant to be this year.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I'm sure I'll choke on the cocktail at some point in the future.
You're the man, Antwan. Thanks for coming on.
All right, Jake, take it easy.
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.